Hi Rangers, this is Ms. Faina. Today we're going to be graphing systems of linear inequalities. So first we're going to start off with determining if the point is a solution. So we have 1 through 5, we're given points, and what we're looking for is for the point to fall in this shaded area right here, okay? Where the shading overlaps for both lines. So we're going to plot the points. We're going to see if it falls in the area. If it does, it's a solution. If it does not, it is not a solution. So here we go. Number 1, I'm going to plot the point -1, +2. That point is right there. Okay, that is not in that common shaded area. It is a solution for one of the lines, but not for the dotted line. So no, because it has to work for both of them. Okay, the next one is 0, 1. Okay, again, this is a solution for the solid line, but it is not a solution for the dotted line because it cannot be on the line and be a solution if it's dotted. So that is a no. Okay, 4, 2. I go over 4, up 2. So again, this is a solution for the solid line, but for the dotted line, it does not work. It's not in that common shaded area, so that is another no. 2, 0. That point falls right here. Again, it's a solution for the solid line, and it is a solution for the dotted line, so this is a yes. And then the last but not least, -3, -1. So if I look, that falls right smack in the middle of the common shaded area. So yes, that is a solution. Okay, so again, when you're given a point, you're just looking for it to be in that overlapping shaded area. Now we're going to get into actually graphing. So let's review a few things, the type of line and the shading. So remember, if it's the two inequality signs that have no line underneath, we have a dotted or dashed line. Okay, so that just looks like a broken up line like that. If we have the line underneath, this is a solid line, which looks like that. Okay, the shading, if it opens towards the y and the y is completely by itself, nothing being multiplied, added, subtracted, then we're going to shade above. So both of these are for shading above. And remember, to determine if it's above, you put your point on the y-intercept and you go up. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, and if it opens up away from the y, this is where we shade below. And again, you would put your point at the y-intercept, and to go below, you would just go down. So here we go, the first one. We're going to graph these, and then we're going to shade, but we're only going to do one at a time. So I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to go to a new graph. So you go home. No, we don't want to save. New graph. Okay. And I'm going to type in that first equation so I can see it again. It was a -4x plus 5. -4x plus 5. And remember that f1 of x, that's just saying y equals, so you just want everything after the inequality sign. So it looks like this. To get my table, if we're using a yellow school calculator, you hit Control T for table, or you can go to menu, table, split screen table. So now I have a list of values that I can use. So I'm going to go ahead and put my notes on top of the calculator, and I'm going to plot these points. So I'm going to start with 0, 5, which is here. I have 1, 1. I have 2, -3. And I believe that's it, because I can't graph 3, 7 because I ran out of space. So now I'm going to go back to just the notes so we can talk a little bit. So let's look at this equation. So this is the equation we're talking about right now. Okay. Looking at the inequality symbol, I'm going to end up having a dotted line. And it's opening away from the y, so I'm going to shade below. Okay, so when I connect my points, I need to make sure that I'm connecting them with a dotted line. So it's going to look like this. And then I need to shade below. So I'm going to put my pen on the y-intercept and I'm going to go down. That's below. So this is the area I'm going to shade. Okay. Now I'm going to switch my pen color. So let's do this dark blue. So hopefully it stands out. And I'm going to do the same thing and repeat the process for this next one. Okay, so I'm going to graph this in the calculator of 1/4 x. So I go back to my calculator. I'm just going to start over and get a new table or a new graph. So no, we don't want to save, add graphs. I have a 1/4 x. Hit enter, menu, table, split screen table. So on this one, notice that I have some values that are decimal points. I just want to graph the whole numbers. So I'm going to start with -4, -1. Oops. So I'm going to plot that point, -4, -1. So that point is right here. Then my next whole point would be 0, 0. And then I have 4, +1. And the next one would be 8, 2, but I don't have enough space for that. So I'm going to go to this. I'm going to look at my line or my equation, or I guess it's technically an inequality. So looking at this, I have a solid line and it's opening up towards the y, so I'm going to shade above. So I'm going to connect my points. Oop, that line was not a very good line. There we go. Okay. And again, I want to shade above, so I'm going to go up. So this is going to be my shaded area. Okay, and what we're looking for is the shaded area that overlaps. So I'm going to do this dark gray. So if we see right here, this area overlaps for both colors. So that would be the solution. That would be where we're looking for points to land in to see if they're actually solutions of the graph. Okay, so now we're going to repeat the process, but we got two new equations. So I'm going to start by graphing this first one. If I look, it's the same equation as the other one right here. So I'm just going to copy those points down. Again, it is still a dotted line that is shaded below because it's the exact same equation. So dotted line, and we're shading below. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the points that I had already. So I had 5, 0, 1, 1, and 2, -3. Okay, so again, I just copied them down because it's the same line rather than trying to do more work. And I want to shade below, so that's this area right here. Okay. Now I'm going to do the second inequality symbol. But if I look at it, notice that the inequality doesn't have y by itself. So before I can do anything, I have to get y by itself. So we're going to rewrite it on this side. We draw a line through the inequality sign. We need to move over the non-y term first, so I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. Those zero out. I'm left with a negative 2y is greater than 10 minus 5x. I need to divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. That negative 2y divided by negative 2 is just a 1y, or y. Because I divided both sides by a negative, I need to flip the inequality sign. I divide 10 divided by negative 2, that is a negative 5. Negative 5x divided by negative 2, two negatives make a positive, becomes 5 over 2x. So this is what I'm going to type into my calculator to graph. So I'm going to go back to my calculator. I'm going to go home, discard my changes, new graph. I'm going to put the notes on top. So I have the y part already, so I need a negative 5 plus 5 over 2 x. Hit graph. Again, you can do Control T for table or menu, table, split screen table. It's going to give me my values. Okay, so I'm going to start here at 0, negative 5. That is this point right here. 1, negative 2.5. I can't graph that because I don't really want to graph decimals. I can graph it. I just don't want to. That's the real story. 2, 0. So that point is right here. And then I'm going to do the point 4, 5, which is right there. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my notes. Okay. Looking at the inequality symbol, I need to go off the one that is fully solved for. So we're going off this right here. This tells me that I have a dotted line. And it's opening up away from the y, which means I'm shading below. So I'm going to connect my points. With a dotted line. And again, I want to shade below, so that's the point that is down. So here's my y-intercept. I want to go this area right here. Okay, again, I'm looking for that shading that overlaps, which is this little chunk right here. So that would be our solution to the systems of inequalities. So we're looking for points that would fall in that area. Because both of my lines are dotted, it cannot fall on either line. Whereas the first equation, it could fall in that purple line area as long as it was still in that pink area. Okay, so moving on. For questions 8 through 11, determine whether the ordered pair is a solution of the systems of linear inequalities. Graph the inequalities and write yes if the point is a solution or no if it is not a solution. So, here we go. So I'm going to start with this equation right here. If I notice that equation does not have a y value at all. Okay, so this is where I need to remember the Hoy-Vux. And this one's going to deal with the Vux part. It's going to be a vertical line, undefined slope, x equals a number, no y. So I'm going to have a vertical line that goes through 3. Because of my inequality sign, it is a solid line. Okay, so it's going to go through 3, and it's going to be a vertical line. So vertical is up and down, and it's a solid line. So it's going to look like that. Now, when it comes to determining how to shade, we want the x values that are less than or equal to 3. Less than or equal to. So where are the x values that are less than? That's going to be on this side right here. So we want this area right here to shade. So all of these values right here are less than or equal to 3. Okay. Now I'm going to switch my colors again. And I'm going to graph this line. If I notice this line, it's just a y with no x's. So this is that hoi part, which means my line is going to be a horizontal line. It's going to go through -4, and it's a solid line as well. So -4 horizontal line, so that line's going to look like this. And I want to shade, it's opening up towards the y, so we're going to shade above. Or where the y values are greater than -4. So it's going to be this whole entire area right here. Okay, so again, the goal of all of this is to find that common shaded area where it's that darker purple. So I'm going to just outline it in gray. So this is that common area. We're looking for a point that can fall anywhere in between that area. Now, these are able to fall on the line. Let me undo that. There we go. So again, it's able to be on the line for this one because they're both solid lines. So we want this little shaded area right here. Okay. So I'm going to plot the point that it gives me. So let's do this dark blue. So it wants the point -2, +5. That's right here. That point is in that dark gray area. So yes, this is a solution. So we're just going to write yes. Okay. The next one. We have this inequality. It's not solved for y, so therefore we need to solve for y before we can do anything. So I'm going to rewrite it. 2x minus 3y is less than or equal to 3. Draw a line through the inequality sign. To move over the non-y term first, I need to subtract 2x from both sides. Okay, 2x minus 2x, 0 out. I'm left with a -3y is less than or equal to 3 minus 2x. I'm going to divide both sides by a -3. Because I'm dividing both sides by negative, remember the inequality sign flips and opens up the other way. Okay, -3y divided by -3 makes a 1y. 3 divided by -3 is a -1. And -2x divided by -3, two negatives make a positive. It stays a fraction x, like that. So this is what we're graphing. And this tells us that we're going to have a solid line. And because it's opening up towards the y now, we're going to shade above. So to graph it, I'm going to go back to the calculator. I'm going to go home, discard my changes, new graph. And I'm going to type in the equation. So it was -1 plus 2/3 x. Oops. I hit enter. Okay, to get the table, Control T, or we go to menu. If it happens to be like this where you can't see anything, you can always hit this back tool button. And we're going to hit table and split screen table. Okay, I'm going to lay the notes on top so I can plot them at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to start with 0, -1. Oh, I could do -3, -3. Sometimes we can't do all them, sometimes we can. So -3, -3 works. I'm going to go to 0, -1. I'm going to go to 3, 1, and then 6, 3. I have just enough space, which is right here. Okay, going back to just the notes. Again, we said it was a solid line. And we're going to shade above. Which is this area right here. Okay, so switch the colors, go to the second graph. So my second line is right here. It already has y by itself, so I'm going to look at the inequality sign. It tells me that I am going to have a dotted line. And it's opening up towards the y, so I'm going to shade above. So I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to type it in. If you don't want to do a new graph every time, you can go to the menu bar. We want to remove the table, that way it goes away. And if you go to graph entry and function, it allows you to change the function if you hit the up arrow, or you don't have to do a new graph every time. But if you don't mind doing the new graph every time, then you just do the new graph every time. Okay, so it was -x plus 4. So there we go. Again, Control T for the table, or menu, table, split screen table. Put the notes on top. See how it's a never-ending process? Okay, and I'm going to plot -2, +6, which is up here. -1, +5, which is here. 0, 4, 1, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 4, 0, 5, -1. There's so many. And 6, -2. Okay, there we go. And no, you don't have to plot all those points. It's just, I like to be super accurate. And then we're just going to connect all of the dots with our nice pretty line. And again, we wanted to shade above. So that's this area. And it's more than what we're just graphing. Okay, we're only graphing, our grid is only from -6 to +6. So there's actually more to this that we're just not graphing. Okay, so now that we have that, we want the common shaded area. Okay, which it's already there. It's that darker grayish purplish area. Okay, so we're looking at the point 1, 3. So I go over 1, I go up 3, 1, 2, 3. That falls on the blue line, and it's in that pink shaded area. So yes, this is a solution. Okay, If the line was dotted, it would not be a solution, but because they are both, oh, nope, Miss Faina messed up and no one said anything. That blue line should have been dotted, which means that is not a solution. So that is actually a no because Miss Faina messed up. So this line needs to be dotted. There we go. Now, because it's a dotted line right there and not a solid line, it does not work. So no, it's not a solution. What would I do without y'all to correct me? Okay. Number 10. So again, repeating the same process over and over and over again. We're going to solve this for y. So I have 2x plus 3y is greater than 3. I draw a line through the inequality sign. I move over my non-y term by subtracting 2x from both sides. 2x minus 2x, 0 out. I'm left with a positive 3y is greater than 3 minus 2x. I divide by a positive 3. Because it's positive, no signs are flipping. 3y divided by 3 is just that 1y. Again, my inequality sign stays the same. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and this stays a negative 2/3 x. Looking at it, I have a dotted line, and it's opening up towards the y, so I'm shading above. And I'm just going to type this into my calculator to graph it. So 1 minus 2/3 x. One minus 2/3 x. Enter. I do the Control T or menu, table, split screen. Lay the notes on top. You see, it's never ending. It's always the same pattern over and over and over again. So I am going to start by plotting -3, +3, 0, 1, 3, -1, and 6, -3. Okay, again, we had a dotted line, so make sure I don't mess up this time. Okay, my line is dotted. Perfect. Shading time, so we're shading above. So remember, the shaded area is where all the points that would work for that equation lie. Okay. Here we go, switching colors. This one is already solved for y. Y is completely by itself. Looking at it, it is going to be a dotted line, and we're shading above. So I'm going to type it in the calculator. So a -3/5 x minus 2. Enter. Menu, table, split screen table. So it looks like I'm going to start at -5, +1. Zero, -2. 5, -5. Okay. So when we look at this, again, we have a dotted line. Like that. And we're going to shade above. It's all of this area. So for the solution, as far as the point goes, it has to be in the common shaded area. So that's going to be the purplish one that has the blue and the pink. Okay, so I'm going to plot that point. That is a -2, +4. That point is right here. It is in that common shaded area, so yes, this is a solution. And yep, that's it. Okay, so if they said like a point that was -4, -1, so down here, that would not work because it's not in the shaded area. Or even -4, +1, that point right here, it's only in one of the shaded areas, so that would not work. So it has to be in that common shaded area. Okay, last one we got to graph by hand, and then we have some multiple choice questions. So here we go. I'm going to start by graphing, first I'm going to start by solving this equation. Okay, it has to be have y by itself, so I'm going to rewrite it. 7x plus 2y is greater than a -4. Draw a line through the inequality sign. I subtract 7x from both sides. 7x minus 7x, 0 out. 2y is greater than -4 minus 7x. To get y by itself, I divide everything by 2. So 2y divided by 2 leaves me with just a y is greater than -4 divided by -2 is a -2 minus 7x or 7/2 x. So I'm going to type that into the calculator, but before I do so, I have a dotted line, and I'm going to shade above. So now I go to my calculator and I'm going to type in -2 minus 7/2 x. -2 minus 7/2 x. Menu, table, split screen table. And I don't honestly know if I'll have any values that I'm able to graph. I need at least 2, so there I see 2. Okay. So the only 2 points that I can plot on this graph are going to be -2, +5, and 0, -2. And then all of the others are not going to fit on my graph. So I'm going to connect them with my dotted points. Or dotted points, dotted line, I'm sorry. Miss Fine is going crazy over here. Okay, and it says we're shading above. So again, if you struggle with that, you put your point on that y-intercept and you go up, or you're looking for the y values that are bigger. So it looks just like this. Okay. Looking at the second one, it's already ready for us to type in, but I'm going to go ahead and determine the type of line. So it is going to be another dotted line. And it's opening away, so we're going to shade below. So I'm going to type it into my calculator to get the points. So -1/3 x plus 1. Okay, menu, table, split screen table, lay my notes on top. Whoop. Okay, I'm gonna plot some of these points. So I'm gonna start with -6, +3. -3, +2. 0, 1. Now, if we see this point right here, 3, and then that weird E looking stuff, that's just a way to write 0. So 3, 0 is a point, and then 6, -1. Okay, but if you didn't know that, that's fine if you didn't put that point. But yeah, that just is the calculator way of writing something that's really small. Sometimes when it just can't compute it. Okay, so again, I have a dotted line. And I'm shading below, so I want to go under that y-intercept. So that's this area. And again, to be a solution, it has to be in that common shaded area. So the darkest area on the graph, it's almost like a dark purple. And we want to see if the point -3, 0 is a solution. So -3, 0, I go over on the x-axis, -3. That point is right here. It is just in the blue area, so it is not a solution, so no. Okay, now we just have 2 more left. I know, this is a long video, I apologize. Okay, number 12 says, which graph shows the solution of the system of inequalities? We have y is greater than or equal to x minus 3. We have y less than or equal to, and then y is less than -2x plus 4. Now what we can do is we can look at the answer choices that we have. Okay, we know for this first one, we should have a solid line, and the second one, we should have a dotted line. So we can cancel out or cross out the answer choices that do not have one solid line and one dotted line. Okay, so that's going to be answer choice D because they're both solid, so that's not going to work for our case. Now we look at our equations. They are both solved for y. Okay, both solved for y. And we could graph these so we can kind of see what it looks like. But, I mean, they're going to be like both of these. So I'm just going to graph this first equation so we can determine if it's the one that is, for answer choice A, the one that's solid or the one that's dotted. If you know that the slope is positive, that might help you. But if you don't know, again, you can always use your calculator to help you. So I'm going to do a new graph just to kind of see what that first equation should look like. So it was x minus 3. Okay, so it should be that one that's going up from left to right. That needs to be our solid line. So if we look, that means answer choice B, we can cross out because this right here is the line that we're looking at. And that line is not solid. So that one gets eliminated. So now it's between answer choice A and C, and it's looking at the shading. So if we look for the first equation, which again we've already determined that it's this line right here, this line right here. If we look at it, we are going to end up shading below, which means it's this area that is shaded. Okay, so that's this area. And then if we look at our second line, this one is going to be shaded below as well. So that's going to be this area right here. So we're looking for the common area that's right here. That's the intersection for both of them. So I'm going to erase the work so we can see which one's the darkest area in that little shaded area. So if we look, this one, the darkest area for answer choice C is this whole area, and that's not the area we want. We wanted just the little snippet right here. Okay, so that means answer choice A would be our answer. Okay, I know that one was a little probably confusing. Okay, looking at number 13. Just by looking at the inequality symbols right here and right here, we can eliminate answer choice F because they're two solid lines and answer choice G because they're two solid lines. So what we're looking for, again, is a common shaded area. If I'm looking at the first equation, I would need to solve it for y in order to determine how to shade. So there's that. I want to start with the second equation because I do think it's going to be a little easier to at least graph it or determine which line it should represent. So based on the inequality sign, it should be something that is shaded below. So I'm going to type this into the calculator so I can just determine which line it's going to be. So I'm going to see the equation one more time. 1/2 x minus 2. Okay, so if I look, it's going through -2 on the y-axis and +4 on the x-axis. So -2 and +4. So it's going to be this bottom line right here. And I'm shading below it. Okay, so before we even look at it, if I'm shading below, that's going to be this area right here, which means in order for it to have a common shaded area here, I would have had to shade above. So this one, I mean, just by process of elimination would be a no-go. For for the first equation, if you can look and see that there's a negative, which means you know you're going to end up having to flip it, you don't really have to even solve it to know that, which means you would be shading below. So if I shade below on the second line, that's going to be this area. So that common shaded area is this little chunk right here. Okay, so it would be answer choice H. But if you needed to solve it, you could always solve it, and then you would end up seeing that you're going to flip it. So there's that. So it's kind of just process of elimination. Usually you can eliminate 1 to 2 answers based on the lines itself, whether they're solid or dotted, and then you just look a little more in depth about the shading. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please, please, please ask your teacher. Get help. We're here to help you. We want you to be successful. Other than that, have a great day, Rangers.